Okay, so good afternoon. Welcome to today's Ag Systems webinar. My name is Abigail Hickman. I am the Client Experience Manager here at Ag Systems, and also joining us today will be Kirby Richmond-Davis, who is our National Sales Manager, and also Hamish Probert, who is our Compliance Coordinator. Just a bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded, and for everyone that has registered for it, you will be receiving the recording after today. For those that are joining after on the recording, hello and welcome to you also. If you have any questions, please add them to the chat box as we go. You will find the chat button, either it's in your webinar controls or your Zoom controls, generally either at the top or the bottom of your screen in the middle. Kirby will be manning the chat box today, so she will check out the questions as we go. If there's something that she thinks needs to be raised during it, she'll put it forward. Otherwise, we will be addressing them at the end, and there may be some opportunity, time permitting, for you to put some questions live at the end. I have muted everyone, so you probably can't unmute yourself now. However, we will unmute yourself later. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start the process today by just having a look at that audit process. We'll have a look at some of the challenges that are typically faced preparing for and undertaking an audit. Hamish will then give us a demonstration of the audit module, which is branded Ag Auditor. We will then discuss some of the certifications that are coming in the Ag Auditor, and we'll finish off with Kirby discussing the game changer that Ag Auditor is going to give. All right, so we'll start with the audit process. So what is an audit? So an audit is a formal process of examining information to assure a business is meeting required criteria for a particular certification. So each certification has a set of criteria which businesses that wish to attain that certification must demonstrate that they are meeting in order for them to achieve that accreditation and to retain it. So some examples of some of the certification programs that you may commonly come across are things like Fresh Care, the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator Mass Management Audit is one that quite often comes up, the Livestock Production Assurance Scheme, Global Gap, ISO certifications. If you're based in the UK, Red Tractor, HARPS, Feed Safe, Dairy Safe, and the list goes on. So there's literally thousands of them, and different businesses may be seeking to attain different ones. So this slide just gives you a bit of a demonstration of how that process generally looks. So it generally starts with gathering evidence. And once you've gathered that evidence, you then need to identify the gaps where either that evidence is not meeting the criteria or you don't have the evidence in a form that you can use to demonstrate that you're actually meeting it. So once you've gone through that process, you then raise corrective actions to address those gaps, those gaps are often called non-conformances. You then action the non-conformances so that you're then conforming them or meeting that criteria. And then you repeat that process. So then you might run the audit again, determine again what gaps are present, once again, corrective actions, meet the non-conformances, etc. So if we look at Ag Auditor, how does that help? So the purpose of the Ag Auditor is essentially to make the audit process simpler by enabling businesses to run internal audits multiple times where the evidence is gathered. So the evidence can be gathered from either within your Ag system or externally. That evidence is then connected to the audit element or specific criteria that the audit has. And you can set that evidence to be selected based on criteria that you set. You then attach the evidence. So once the evidence is attached, it will automatically be attached in real time every time the audit is run. So you don't have to attach it each time. It will be attached already and you simply run it. And then you might identify the gaps. And then from those gaps, you'll create traceable corrective actions that can be created as a corrective action task. So because it's a task, it is then traceable to identify where it is and what you've completed. So this circular process can continue multiple times. Once again, completing the corrective action tasks, running the audit again, attaching more evidence, creating further corrective actions until you reach the point where you feel you are meeting the certification criteria. Once you get to that point, you can then output the audit as a PDF document that can be sent to your external auditor for review, or alternatively, you might choose to sit down with your auditor one-on-one and demonstrate your compliance by going through that document. The benefit is that it's all in one document, the evidence is all there, and you can literally work through that document with your auditor to demonstrate that you're meeting compliance. So what are the challenges when we're looking at doing an audit? So the critical challenges that get highlighted to us frequently is the challenge of actually gathering the required evidence and compiling it in a way that you can provide to the auditor. Generating the evidence is also a challenge, so not only gathering, but also generating. So what do you need, addressing what you need, and then collating it all together. Many large audits require a business to not only identify the corrective actions, but also demonstrate that they've raised corrective actions and completed them. And obviously, the big thing that all of the above requires is time to do it. So how does the Ag Auditor help? So essentially, the way the Ag Auditor helps is it connects the evidence in real time and maintains it connected so that you're not having to constantly gather that evidence every time. Once the evidence is connected, it then demonstrates compliance by being linked to the specific criteria that you are required to meet. From the Ag Auditor, you can raise corrective actions as tasks, and within the program, it will show their status at any one time. And its ability to enable repeatability at the click of a button is where you save enormous time. Instead of having to run an audit each time, taking considerable time, the running process each time is really quick. Okay, so I'm going to hand over now to Hamish to demonstrate the Ag Auditor. Let me just make sure that Hamish can actually, can you turn on your video? Yep, great.
So, hey everyone, thank you for coming along today. We did a pre-recording of the Ag Auditor before, just to hopefully limit any issues. And so when we go through it, you can put comments down in the chat, and at the very end of the presentation, we'll get around to answering any questions that may arise whilst it occurs. First, I'll begin by sharing my screen. So when logging in, it'll be the same as your normal login. You'll see there's the dashboard, which you'll then work down into documents and files. Under documents and files, if you purchase the audit module, it will appear under the procedures. You can click in here and it will look the same setup as the others, with the published, draft, archive, and template libraries in that order. Here it differs a little bit. There is the internal audits and external audits. I'll get around to explaining that towards the end. I'll just begin by first running an audit. I'll start with an audit I previously built called the internal audit form. So I'd go down to the 3 dots and click on Run. So the Start New or Review will appear. This is just asking if I'd like to use previously used linked evidence or uploaded files. As I'm running this for the first time, I'll say no. So this just means there's something auto-populated in it for me. Now we'll be asked to set evidence dates. I'll jump back a year and just make it a yearly audit. So this is what will help set default dates. So if you're pulling documents out, then this is the date frame that they work within. It can be set as according to your audits as needed. Very handily, up here on the top right hand corner is where you can see the default dates you've set. You're able to edit it at any point. So if you fill it out, save it, and then want to come back to it in a few days' time, you might want to edit that date just to give the ability of the extra data you may have entered into the system. And now just run through this form. So here it's, have you started a pre-check? I'll say I haven't done a pre-check yet. I've just built this form out using some conditional logic. I'll say I do want to have a corrective action, and I'll add a corrective action in. So say that I want to ensure that there is a pre-start check, and I'll just say that the staff haven't been filling it out, and it is a corrective action. There's no risk associated, and I will assign it to myself to be reviewed. And from here, I've also added in the conditional logic. If I wanted to, I could add a comment. I could link some evidence, but as there's none filled out, I won't link any, or I could upload a document. Same here is, has employees completed safe work procedures? I'll say they have, and I'd really like to link some evidence. So this is the beauty of the audit module, is I can actually link internal evidence if I'm using it. So at the moment, there's checklist, policies, and procedures. However, inductions, training, inventory, and near miss and incidents are being worked on, and they should hopefully be here soon. I'll say that I'd like a checklist. So we got the ability of documents, logs, and completed documents. Click on a document and say, I'd just like the base document for a cool room checklist. And here it is published. So I've got one cool room checklist published. So this is just to show that I've got the original document. I'd also like to add some logs for that. So I'll go back into checklists, add the logs, and add the cool room checklist logs. So if we scroll down, we can see that it's been put out 3 times. And on here, it will show there's 3 logs selected. And if I would like to add some more, I could easily add a few more lines here. Just say this section is completed by myself. And it's completed on the 17th. I've set it out. The way I've set out this form is just to have who's completed and what date, in case there's a few people filling out the form and they're doing it over a few dates. It's also important to remember to click Save and Close if you're exiting. This just ensures that no data is lost. I can then go into internal audits and see that I'm currently filling out the internal audit form and it's in progress. It shows me how much is being completed here. It also shows the ones I've previously completed, along with the date they've been completed and time and who they were created by and the versioning that they're up to. I'll now resume this audit to take me back to where I left off. I'll click over into the next page. Once again, I'll say, yes, I've been growing, packing, storage facilities, and I'd like to this time upload other documents. So this can be a PDF. In this instance, I will upload some capsicums and upload an image here. You could also put in a video if that is better. So if you need to show some visual demonstration of the quality some facilities are in or the paddock, that can be done here. Quickly finish this off. And then I can come down and click Finalize. So now we'll just spin around and quickly generate. I can say, would I like a PDF to be generated? So if you were wanting to have a PDF to pass on to someone or have one printed out to read through, because you can run these audits as many times or as little times as you would like. So this time I don't want a PDF, so I'll click on the no. So now, as before it had the in progress, it is now completed. So if I was to view the audit, it will pull up what has been completed. I can't edit it as I've finalized it. It shows here that the corrective action hasn't been started, but we have the call room checklist and the checklist logs. So if we click into these, you can actually see the logs and click into them further. So this can be used if you're sitting down with the auditor on site and they can have a look through and see that these documents have actually been completed and they haven't just been generated and are sitting there as a falsehood. And with this corrective, back up to the corrective action, if I'm now to close out of it and mark this as completed, it will change the status within the folder form. So I can now go up to Safety Management, Task Manager, sort by creation date, and I can ensure pre-start checklist is filled out. So this is saying it's actually linked to an internal audit, letting you know that when the status here is changed, it will change it on the form automatically. So I can either withdraw it or mark as complete. So I'll mark it as complete for today. If we go back into audits, back into the internal audit, we can then view the audit again and see that the status has actually changed. So the corrective action is now complete and it's been highlighted green just to let you know. I'll now show you the rerun function. So if we're to hit run, rerun the internal audit, and this time say, yes, we would like to keep the evidence. It will have the evidence already put in, but auto-stored, auto-saved for us. So I'll click yes. And I'll just re-put in the same time brackets just for the demo today. So as we go through, it said last time we had the corrective action. However, we don't need to add that anymore because it's been followed up. We could change that to yes or add any of the attached evidence if we wanted. Now coming down, as before, as we've already filled out this form in the past, it comes up with a little marker to say that this evidence has already been attached in the past and will be automatically attached. However, we've not reviewed it. So before you can actually finalize the form, you have to review it. So you just click in here. And we can go down and say, yep, this is all good. I'd like to save it as is and do the same for this as well. So this is just making sure that we are paying attention to what we're doing, continuing it through, and just not rushing through it, giving us a bit of time for more review, which is always handy. And as before, it's appeared with the file uploaded. So if you've got a few paper documents that you would like to upload yourself, then you can upload them, scan them into the computer and upload them by here, and it will stay in your audit form for you as long as you click the yes, continue using the prior evidence attached. Once again, I'll have to sign off this time and hit finalize. I'll click no to the PDF now again, but that's because I'll show you the difference between internal and external audits. So the way that this has been set out is that internal audits can be an external audit. However, you can continue completing it in this section here as many times as you'd like until you're happy and ready to send it off-site. And that's where external audits comes in. So you can say that I've completed this and like to generate an external audit. So this is generating it as a PDF for you, which can be viewed. This just has a little bit of a think, which is unfortunate as technology, not everything's instant, but it's not too long of a wait usually. So now that it's said there that it was generated, it's now been populated in external audits. So we can see that this is the one I've been working on today. and the time that it was finished, and then I can view. So this is how the PDF will be viewed. So you can zoom in and have a bit of a look closer, but it presents as a PDF. It has all the information up here, the default dates that the evidence has been drawn from, along with the name of the form and the version that it's at. So here we can't click through on these links, but it shows that this has been attached and there's some evidence of it in the appendix. And then when we have upload a file, it will also populate it down into the appendix as well. So here's the appendix. It just says that this is in the system and these are the logs attached. If they ask for any clarification, you can send on those forms through. And here is the image which has previously been attached, and we'll just present it in a list that way. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them down and I'll get to answering them once I've finished presenting the audit module. Now I will just show you the creation, how to create an audit and the main differences between an audit creation and a checklist creation. So you'll go into the draft. So here you have any of the drafts that you're working on. Here you can build new. Put in your title. And if you would like, you can also then put in a company document ID. So as the same as checklists, you have your content on the side here and your responses. The main difference is that there is a linked evidence functionality within the audit. So here you can put in and pre-link evidence. So if we were to run the form, it would automatically have set documents that it's going to be drawing down from. I'll just show you how that works now. So I can hit save and it will automatically save that into the form, or I can click into specify evidence. So clicking specify evidence, we can then say checklists, we'd like to show the document, and we will go down to the tractor checklist to say that this document does exist, and here is the evidence. So this will automatically be updated as versions go through. So you can also select keep all the versions or just the most recent versions. So I can check the checklist, the logs. So here's the version. So we can say latest version only or all versions. Go title all. So we can either select all the checklist logs, or we can then filter by title and scroll down to get any tractor checklists that have been completed. So here we only have one log, and so this will automatically be assigned. But the beauty of building it out and attaching it prior to actually publishing the form is that that tractor checklist will always be there no matter the version, and it will ensure that all the data is being pulled for the set date frame. So what that means is when we were running it and I said no the first time, it would still have that evidence down there, so you wouldn't be missing any. You wouldn't have to attach it. You can just run through it, see the logs, and you'll still have to review it just to make sure it is the same logs and the right logs you want, but you don't have to click through and attach it each time. So that's the main difference. I won't worry about publishing this or walking through the additional logic. But if there is any questions around actually building out the audit form or building out checklists and any of that, feel free to give us a call and we're more than happy to help you.
Hamish, I've got a question from Mike Knudsen.
Yep.
Why not have the appendix attached at the end of the PDF rather than having to chase it up later if required?
So in regards to the ability, it requires a bit of background work. So at the moment, our dev team is working through the ability to actually have it linked fully. But by providing the evidence that it is there, it still shows that it's available. And there is also the ability to go into the administration, actually pull a report down of a particular one if you would like to have evidence of that, and attach it via a file upload as a PDF, and it will automatically be in the bottom section. I hope that helped clarify it a little bit.
And I'll just add to that.
I'll just add to that, Kirby. If you're attaching a document, that will be viewable. It's just the internal evidence that's not. Is that correct, Hamish?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's really important to remember that everything that we do at Safe Ag Systems is backed off feedback. So this is not something that's set and forget. We will always take feedback on board. So in these instances, if you think, oh, gee, this would work better, please make sure you forward that to us, because if it's something that you feel it's not as smooth as you think it should be, let us know so that we can make the development work happen in the background so that it is. Okay.
Thanks, Kirby, and thanks, Hamish. Okay, so if you've got any further questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat box, or we will take some questions a bit later on. So just with regards to the certifications, there's obviously a large number of certifications which are out there. There's 4 certifications at the moment that we're working on, which is Fresh Care, Red Tractor, which is a UK certification, the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator Mass Management, and also some dairy certifications, where we're building out the forms. So not only the actual form that you need to run, so the audit form, but we're also building out the associated checklists, policies and procedures, etc., that you might need to use on a daily basis to ensure you're meeting the chosen criteria or the chosen certification. The key benefit, however, of the Ag Auditor is that you can build your own audit. Any audit can be built. It's really up to your imagination as to which one you want to put in here. The building process itself may take a bit of time, but once it's built, it's very easy to repeat the audit and just keep rerunning it for multiple years. Okay, so I'll now hand over to you, Kirby, to talk to this, this slide.
Sorry, gang, I left myself on mute. After hearing from Hamish and Abigail, you can see very easily how this can become a bit of a game changer for the audits, and especially if you are doing them on farm. So what we've been able to do is make this an add-on to your Safe Ag Systems subscription. So if this is something that you're interested in, we've popped the price point of $1,500 plus GST per annum out there. So please, I always like to put the price out there. I don't like anyone guessing. I like people to know the price of what we're doing here. And then, of course, we've gone through, and any certifications that we've done, just like Abigail has mentioned, you know, the Fresh Care, the Red Tractor, those sorts of things. If you require that, that will come at additional charge if you want that added on. So we've not got a price point for that at this point in time, as we are still working very closely with those companies. Sherilyn, I've just seen your question come through. We are also, yes, we're going to include mass management. I hope that answers that one. And then I've also got, I'm not sure exactly of your name, but it's, is there a checklist to help prepare the internal audit? Hamish, are you able to answer that one quite quickly?
So if that's in regards to the Fresh Care, then we're we have built out the Fresh Care audit form. And so that is kind of the internal checklist, is you go through and use as the initial checklist to see if you're matching to that, and will be a template which can be purchased in addition to.
Okay, I've got another one here from Sherilyn also. which is not mass management, rather maintenance management?
So at this stage, we've just started looking at mass management, but the plan is that it'd be continually updating a list. So as we go through and seeing where the interest lays is where we'd kind of start pivoting towards picking out new audits to be built as templates for people to use.
And that comes with feedback as well, gang. So like I was saying just before, if you've got an audit that you need to do, let us know what they are. So it might be a case of us building a bit of a list and going, right, a lot of our clients need this particular audit. We can then work on making sure that's part of our system. And I've just got a thanks to regarding the audit question. So that must have answered that question, Hamish. So this is where I will invite any further questions. Feel free to take yourself off mute and ask those questions if you want to. Otherwise, you've got the chat box where you can ask questions at any time. But if this is something that has piqued your interest, I really recommend that you scan that QR code and book in a demo of this more intimately. We can go over things more one-on-one with you. We can also, field your calls, and you can also explore this via our website. I'm not sure, was anyone wanting to pop off mute and have a question?
Doesn't sound like it.
Oh,
I have enabled you to take yourself off mute.
Mrs. Zuppy, are there any parts of Safe Ag that the audit module won't work for? Hamish, this is probably best in your hands.
So at this stage, it is only pulling in information from the checklists, procedures and policies, but the aim and what is in development is actually being able to use the whole system. So in short, we can't pull in inventory training and I think they are the main ones, inventory training and mapping, but we can still use all checklists, all policies and all procedures are able to be drawn in.
And all logs. So if you've got things attached to inventory that involves checklists and things like that, they will be pulled in. And the rest is not too far away.
And please know that this has been recorded. So if you do need to share it with other teammates and members of the family, feel free, you will have the recording emailed to yourselves.
Any other questions? Doesn't sound like it. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found this webinar helpful. As Kirby just mentioned, you'll get the recording sent through probably this afternoon or early tomorrow. And yeah, if you would like to have a bit more of a look at it, scan the QR code or get in touch with us. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.